Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you. In particular, I will be working on an apartment, and the aesthetic is going to be for a cottagecore engineer. And I know that sounds very random, but it is actually inspired by my sister who is describing herself, I guess, as a cottagecore engineer. I actually asked her what aesthetic she would want me to use for a build, and her words were cottagecore / gnome-ish. So I tried to incorporate gnomes throughout the build, and I'll try to point those out as we go through. But she's actually an engineer and is working on her PhD. So I wanted to incorporate kind of what I hope would be kind of like her dream apartment, which includes a very spacious bedroom and an office that is, honestly, it's amazing. I'm actually really excited to show you what that looks like, so be sure to stick around so you can see what that ends up being. It ends up actually having a lot of crafting and a lot of robotics. My sister likes doing like cosplay, sewing, all that kind of cool stuff, so that's all incorporated here. And she also has a little doggy, so I was very careful to actually include some stuff for her dog Nugget. I believe it's a miniature schnauzer or a regular schnauzer. I'm sure she'll call me after she sees this and be like, Rachel, what are you talking about? Like, how do you not know what Nugget is? Anyways, so we are actually working on the kitchen here, and it took me a minute to actually figure out what I wanted to do because I was trying to make it cottagecore but not too like old looking, if that makes sense. And I also asked her if she wants like a more dark or light aesthetic, and she said she liked the light a little more. And so I was using these, and part of the trouble I had was the cabinetry, especially the upper cabinets that go with both of the more cottagey sets for the kitchen, is that they all include some sort of colored material, which I'm not a super huge fan of. But I did figure out what I wanted to do. Actually, here I ended up adding these like shelving units next to the hood for the stove, which I think helped round out that space. And I couldn't help myself, I absolutely had to use the wallpaper that came with Cottage Living. And I was sure to use the mushroom swatch because my sister also loves mushrooms. If you know what Animal Crossing is, her Animal Crossing island is Toadstool. So I felt like I had to include that here, and I do include some mushrooms throughout the build. The Cottage Living pack came with like a chair that looks like a mushroom, so I included several of those. And in the kitchen, I didn't want to put like an island necessarily, especially since we have that door that goes out to the balcony, but I wanted some sort of like table in the middle, so I actually ended up combining 2 tables to make like a larger space. Now your Sims can't cook on it, but there is plenty of room for them to cook. This is just more for aesthetic and, you know, clutter, things like that. So I end up just adding this rug here, and then I don't put a ton of clutter in here. I'm also having issues with this build with actually using a lot of move object stuff. It likes to delete things, but here I am trying to add the gnome that is riding a chicken. They came with Cottage Living. I had to add that because I feel like my sister would love that. So I just included that, and then I did also include a tea maker, like coffee mugs, because she does enjoy tea, so I added that in this build. I actually don't use the tea like maker very often because if you've ever played with a build that has that in it, your Sims just like to go make tea and then it goes bad. Like they don't drink it and then you just have to clean it up, and it's a whole thing. So a lot of times I just don't use it. But I did include it here because it just felt like I should. And then just including some spices, like a plant. She actually does like having her own plants. She did have for a while a aloe plant that she had named. I forgot the name of it now. Again, I'm sure she'll call me and remind me about what that is. But I also do include in the kitchen, that is where I put the food bowl for Nugget. And it feels weird that like I'm talking about her dog by name, but my sister's not by name. So my sister's name is Sarah. And so I'm just adding some stuff in there that I thought like she would have in her kitchen. And I do go back and forth with a lot of this clutter, but like I said, I don't put a ton in here because I wanted to keep it like a cleaner space, but I kept it a lot of these warmer tones. But again, I tried not to make it too like older looking, and I think I achieved that. And then I just included like a book, like maybe she was making notes or, you know, reading off of a recipe or something like that. And then we just add in, I put so much work into putting a bunch of like columns and stuff in here, but in this beautiful, like, like all this work into this area right here, but it just did this weird thing where it just started deleting them out at some point, and then like I couldn't put them back. Like, I don't know why. I keep saying that I couldn't like intersect other objects. Like, I don't know what the column was touching that was making it upset, but whatever. So we lose some of the columns, unfortunately. And I like the idea of having like a little nook here, and I just put a bookcase, like technically 2 in there, to make a larger one. And I know, shocking, I did put a gnome on top of this one as well. So don't worry, there's more gnomes to come. And then just some clutter up top. I think I use those like wooden hearts that your Sims can make, and just this little like flower thing. And I think it's funny, like I put so much stuff on all these like higher shelves, but like in reality, I feel like my sister would need a step stool to get to all of that. Not that I'm necessarily tall, but she is shorter than I am. So anyways, I put another half wall in there just to give it a little more space, and it just felt like cottagecore, like it made sense to me for it to be a little more closed off. But again, I didn't want it to be super old feeling, so I still left it kind of open with that half wall. And I struggled a lot, clearly, with what kind of curtains I wanted to put up here, but I ended up just using the ones from the kitchen. And I think I may actually add some other curtains on the side of it to give it a little more interest on that wall. And I did for the dining table, I put that wooden like bench on the back side of it. Now your Sims can't use it as a dining table for those seats, but since this was an apartment for just a max of like 2 Sims, I figured there's 4 other chairs they can still use, and I really liked the look of it, so I made sure to add that in there. And then I think we just put a plant in the corner and a picture on the wall, and then of course a gnome. And I've actually never seen that gnome before, but he's like literally holding up like a little tray, like a little server. I don't know if you've ever seen those like chefs you can put in your kitchen, those little sculpture doodads that, you know, hold something. Anyways, so I feel like that's what it was like, and I had to use it. And then naturally using the rug that came with cottage living, and we're just adding some more stuff in here. And it actually took me a minute to decide what I wanted. Oh, that's at the point where I started deleting my columns, when I added wallpaper. I don't know what it is about wallpaper and breaking the game all of a sudden, but this is not the first time this has happened to me, and I could not figure out how to fix it. So like I said, we lost the columns there, unfortunately. I wish we hadn't, because I felt like it added a really nice architectural touch, but anyways, it wasn't like worth me spending like hours on trying to figure out. But if you have a solution for it, or you've had it happen before, let me know in the comments, because I would love to be able to fix it in the future if there's something that I could do. And also on that note, if you have any ideas or things you want to see me build, please leave it in a comment down below. I'd love to hear your ideas or any general thoughts about my build. And if you are enjoying this, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I would very much appreciate it. It'll let me know that my content is good. And I'm always open to suggestions, so just let me know. And I've also, if you're enjoying this build, and after you're done watching this one, if you want to see others, I do have a playlist linked down below in the description of my other Sims 4 speed builds. And on my channel, I also have Sims 4 gameplay, Animal Crossing gameplay, and some baking, because I like baking. So I throw that in there too. So if you want to learn how to do some cake decorating, be sure to check those out, or at least check out my other Sims 4 speed builds. So anyways, back to this build. I did have some trouble in this living room trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because the couch is a little more modern than I think I wanted, but the other couches that I was looking at didn't really fit the aesthetic that I was going for. So I just went with this like sectional. And then I found this like llama menu board that I absolutely had to include in the kitchen. So I just popped over there and added that. And then over in the corner, I was trying to decide what I actually wanted to put over there. And I wish I had like a corner table. I know I can make something like that with counters, but I didn't necessarily want to use counters in the living room. So I did try to put together like 2 tables to make that work, but they were overlapping and it just seemed really large. I was also looking at possibly using a coffee table, but again, like the space, I didn't want to overclutter it. So I just anyways, this is me trying to figure out if that's what I wanted to do in the corner. And I just put that cross stitching box up on the, what is it called? What is the word I'm looking for? Couch. There it is. And just because I figured, you know, my sister might be working on it and have some supplies in the living room, like if she's watching TV or something. And then I struggled because I liked having this at an angle, but then like I didn't like it being in the corner like that and having so much space. So I actually ended up just putting in a diagonal wall, so it looked like it made a lot more sense. So unfortunately lost a little bitty like triangle of space, but I think it was definitely worth it because it just made a lot more sense this way. And then just adding a TV and some little knickknacks. And then I went and found the painting from Cottage Living that had like a little bunny and stuff on it because I just thought that was adorable. And oh yeah, I didn't even talk about the mushroom that I added to the living room. And because I promised my sister I'd put some in there. And so this is me again having a crisis of a color I wanted to use. So I ended up swapping out, I believe, this rug because I think it was the rug that was kind of bugging me. It seemed just a little too formal for what I was going for this build. So anyways, I ended up adding the toy box for the little dog, and I was having a little bit of trouble. Like I wanted to put like dog food over here, like there was some storage, but then I was like, this feels weird in this little hallway. But since I constructed that hallway is almost like this round area, there's actually like a little nook that was created, which ends up being like right behind the fridge. So I do end up putting that there and putting some pet supplies there. So I assume that's where all of Nugget's stuff is. And then I don't add a lot to this space because again, this is just like a little hallway. I think I add a rug and then like a light. And then maybe a plant because I add plants everywhere. So, and then I had the realization that, yeah, this gnome is like holding something. So then I really wanted it to hold this little planter, and you can see me struggling so much to try to get it to match, and I finally did, and I was so excited. It is so cute. I can't wait for you to see it in the screenshots at the end of the video. And I made sure to take a picture of him because he was adorable. But anyways, so I'm just adding a little more light. Just felt a little dark in there. And then for the bathroom, so similar to the kitchen, it took me a minute to figure out exactly the color scheme I wanted. And then I think this is actually just what I ended up leaving it at. And I did end up putting in like a really cool looking bathtub. So there's not a shower in this build, but there had to be a bathtub because it's built to have a dog in it and you need it to bathe the dog. But I did end up putting like some really awesome counter space in there and just a simple mirror, and then just not too much clutter again since I was having some issues with move objects for this build. But I think I end up putting like a robe on the wall, and then I end up using, since some of the stuff I'm going to use in the office is from like the knitting pack, I put on the wall the like crocheted like wall piece thing, that decor piece that we have. And I actually move it. I did originally put it over the counter, but I do end up putting it over the bathtub because there was more space over there, so it made just more sense. And then we just add, I think, like a towel on the other wall and just some more storage with the toilet and everything. And then I think I end up putting one of the things I use a lot, which is a little tray that has a candle in it just for some lighting. And I did think about using that piece of art, but it just kind of felt weird. So, and then with the potions I thought, but I felt like the flower matched a little bit better, so I left it with that. And then this was a huge bedroom. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I wanted my sister to have this gorgeous bedroom. And then when I went to go actually furnish it, I was like, this is humongous. I swear sometimes these apartments, because there are like 6 of them in this build. So I've had a lot of apartment builds lately, and I have a couple more that will be coming up. Like, I feel like I forget how large it is every time I go do these floor plans, but it ends up having like a really awesome seating area. And I did end up using, because I didn't want to use the wallpaper from the kitchen again, because it was just, I felt like it was all going to be a lot to have on the walls and make it hard to choose like bedding and stuff without it being super busy. So I ended up, and again, me struggling to do curtains in this in this apartment, which is a theme I think throughout all the apartments for this build, since I ended up using the huge, gorgeous like eco lifestyle windows. But I ended up just doing some paneling on that back wall and then using like a light green color on the rest of the walls, because then there's not like a lot of competition with the bed, because I really wanted to use the bed that came with cottage living, but either like it had this green swatch that was like really dark, and then the other florals, and there's just, I didn't want to have to try to compete with wallpaper. And then of course adding a gnome into the bedroom. And then I did have some trouble like what kind of art I wanted to put on the wall. I think I ended up putting up like a banner from the Fenwick Fair inside of the game, and so I just figured that might look nice, and it looked a little bit cleaner than some of the other art. And again, I was trying to keep my sister in mind when I did this, so you know, you can always change that out if you don't like it. But this is me excuse me, trying to do the seating area, which is so big, and I was thinking about putting those like built-in closets in, but with those windows there by the door, it just wasn't going to work out super well, so I end up not doing that. And when I was looking at cottage living stuff, I realized that that set of cabinets came with its own sink, and I have no idea why I didn't use it. So I just went and swapped that out, and I think it looks so much better. And then I end up actually putting another TV in here just so like she could hang out in there. And, you know, I assume that her dog Nugget would be in there. So I end up putting in what ends up being like, it looks huge. A huge dog bed in there, and I mean Nugget is not that big, but she has a giant dog bed in this in this build, in this version of my sister's apartment. So just adding a few things. I didn't add like a ton of stuff in here, and that also leaves room if you would like to download this, then you can add your own personal touches. And this is available on the Sims 4 gallery, so all the apartments for this build I've uploaded as rooms, so you can download them. You can put them on a lot. You don't have to use it as an apartment. You just have to add back the walls I deleted so that it'll actually upload as a room. But once I'm done with the whole entire build, I will upload the furnished build to the gallery as well. So if you just want to download it in its entirety. And the way you could play this is actually through using either roommates in the game, or by just having a bunch of Sims in your own household if you want to control them all, and then just like locking doors so that they can't go and like cook in another person's apartment, because they will do that. But there is like a clubhouse section on the top of this build, so your Sims can still all hang out together even though they can't go in each other's apartments. And there's like a grill up there, and I think a ping pong table, a dance floor, like a bar. Like it's a fully loaded clubhouse up there. So your Sims can still hang out with each other and socialize even if they're locked out of each other's apartments. And then one thing to keep in mind too, if you're going to use like roommates, you just have to be sure that you are keeping up with any kind of repairs that need to be done. Otherwise they'll get mad and they'll move out. But I actually haven't done this a lot, but I am curious to see like how much money it would bring in to have roommates. And I'm also curious how expensive this build is going to be once it's done. So this room, when it was uploaded to the gallery, was 52,402 simoleons. So if you multiply that by 6, since there'll be 6 apartments in here, that'll probably give you a rough estimate of at least just the interior. And that doesn't include the exterior. I do not remember how much the exterior costs. And then adding just for the balconies, a little seating area, again using little mushrooms. And then I added some planters over on the side so you can plant some stuff. I feel like my sister would want to like plant herbs and things like that. We actually bought my dad one of those like air gardens so you can like plant inside, and my parents are actually really enjoying that, so I just feel like that's something that my sister would do too. I'm not sure if she has the time to do it right now being in school, but you know, she might want to. And then I just added, don't worry, another gnome out here. And I did try to swap it up. I think this one is a repeat of the one that I had inside, but it was just too cute because it had the little sunflowers on its hat. So I put that in there. And then, so now we are finally hitting the office. So this is basically a crafting / office. And so I end up actually having half of it, you can see here, I'm putting together for crafting. So all of her sewing, cosplay, all of that. And then the other side is actually going to be for all of her engineering robotics. She actually does work with robotics. So this kind of made a lot of sense, and I was actually really excited about doing this since I know we had this stuff in the game. Again, I'm sure she'll like call me and correct me and be like, that's not exactly what I do, but she does. She works with these kinds of things. And so I end up putting like the servo over by the window, like having some room to work. And then I just have a bunch of like clutter over there, like just different parts. And I did use some stuff from the Star Wars pack. I basically never do, but it did have some cool items for the robotics. Like, so I ended up using that. And that was me pulling out an actual servo because I wanted there to be an actual one inside of the like thing that you buy that you like build it in. I wanted it to go ahead and have one. And then I just pulled out of debug some robot arms and just little robot pieces, things like that. And on the wall, I end up putting like this science club banner and then the university flag and then just some like awards and stuff. I don't know. I feel like she has some. I don't know off the top of my head, but it just feels right for this build. And so yeah, we're adding that in there, and then we end up adding just a bunch of shelving over there because I figured you need space to store all of these robot arms and parts. And then we do end up putting like another like cubicle thing on the other wall that's ended up being, again, like huge. It's a huge office. So if you do want this, you can download it, and honestly, you could turn this into another bedroom. You could have this, honestly, this could be like a family as well. Like the parents' bedroom is the bigger one, and then this one could be a kid's and they're into robotics or something. There's a lot of options, so feel free if you'd like to download it and change it. I don't mind at all. And this is me just pulling out more things, more parts to put everywhere. And then the other side, so the crafting side, is not as cluttered as this one. But it just made sense. I put a lot of papers, like for research stuff, and I found these like computer glasses that are up there, if you can see those, on the top shelf of the desk. And then that's the cubicle we add in, and I think I add in like the crafting cart, the one that you always see at like Michael's, if you've ever heard of that store. It's a crafting store, which I have spent a lot of time at for my own baking stuff. But we do add that, and then like a backpack and just a couple of like stuffed animals that maybe your sim actually created and knitted. And then just a lot of space for them to work on stuff. And then I believe that's kind of what we're adding. This took me a while to get some of the stuff inside of those little cubicle things on the wall. I didn't even know we had some of these items, like that bear. I don't even know if I've ever seen before, but there he is. He's in that little like cubby. And then, oh yeah, there's the cart. And I think I also added like a pegboard that goes with this set as well. But we're just adding a little lamp so you can actually see what you're doing. And then that's actually just about it. So I have some screenshots coming for you. So be sure to check those out because they are awesome. And again, please be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.